Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the WrestleWorld podcast. Today we're going to be reviewing Dynamite from July 29th, 2026. The show was packed and it had a 34-minute overrun, and we crowned a new set of champions. Now let's get straight into it. The show started off with Renee Paquette trying to interview Will Ospreay backstage, but standing in his way was the Death Riders. Daniel Garcia tried to talk to Ospreay first, but then he got elbowed to the ground. Pac was so mad he tried to go immediately after Ospreay, but Moxley held him back. Moxley then said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" But Will Ospreay said, "You don't get to pull the trigger for me," and officially removed himself from the Death Riders. And Moxley was like, "Is that so?" And he's like, "You gotta figure it all out now." And then Ospreay kept going forward, and then he ended up running into Hangman Adam Page. Hangman let Ospreay know how he felt, but Ospreay said that since he can't trust Kenny, he can't trust Hangman. Even though Renee Paquette didn't get the answers that she wanted, we now officially know that Will Ospreay is no longer with the Death Riders. The first match to happen was a three-way match for the AEW National Championship between Nick Wayne, Jack Perry, and the champion Andrade. This match was great. Andrade retained his championship, and I rated it an 8 out of 10. Andrade has defended his first ever singles championship in AEW now. But after the match, Tony Schiavone came in the ring and asked him how he was feeling. He said he felt good because he screwed MJF and Don Callis. And then Tony Schiavone mentioned next week on AEW Grand Slam Dynamite that there's going to be a #1 contender spot for the men's Casino Gauntlet match at AEW All In. And he asked Andrade if he'd be interested in doing it. But Andrade said, "How you know?" The Brawling Birds were backstage and they were talking about how they're going to face the Divine Dominion soon. And I'm assuming that this is going to be at AEW All In. Kevin Knight and Kyle Fletcher start arguing. And then it comes down to Kyle Fletcher defending his championship next week against Speedball Mike Bailey. Kyle tells Kevin that the International Championship will not be leaving the Don Callis family. And then Okada came in and said yes, that it will not be leaving the family, hinting that Okada wants a match against Kyle Fletcher or Takeshita, potentially in a three-way match at All In for the International Championship. The next match on the show was a trios match between Brodito and Speedball Mike Bailey versus the Don Callis family. More specifically, Kyle Fletcher, Brian Cage, and Jake Doyle. Brodito and Speedball most likely win this match so that Kyle Fletcher can win next week when he's defending his championship against Speedball. That should be a good title match next week, but now let's go to the next match. Renee Paquette did a sit-down interview with Cage and Cope and the Young Bucks backstage. They go back and forth on why each team should win the match at All In, and it was a pretty great promo overall. The next match was for the TBS Championship. It was Maya World versus Persephone. Hikaru Shida came out in the middle of the match trying to have Persephone win the championship from Maya World, but this didn't work. Even though the ref got distracted, Chris Statlander came out to Maya World's save and pulled the kendo stick away from Persephone. Maya World won the match and celebrated with Chris Statlander after. This match was also an 8 out of 10. But after that, backstage, Mark Davis was talking about how he lost the national championship and now he needs to do something about it. He calls out Will Ospreay and says that they fought twice in the past and they have a 1-on-1 record. And he says the only reason Ospreay won his match is because of the Death Riders. So now next week in Grand Slam Mexico, it'll be Mark Davis versus Will Ospreay in a no outside interference match. After that was Willow Nightingale's champion celebration. In the first couple minutes, she really couldn't say anything because she was just so emotional. She was saying a lot of motivational stuff, and that's when Mercedes Moné came out to crash the celebration. She came out and wasted no time making Willow Nightingale sign the contract to make the match at All In official. The Divine Dominion shows up and they all start beating up Willow. And that's when the Brawling Birds came out to Willow's save. After that, we had a Continental Championship match between Jon Moxley and Commander. Throughout the match, Commander was of course doing his high-flying moves, and Moxley ended up winning by submission. This match is a 7 out of 10, but let's go to the next thing. Mick Foley was backstage with the Bang Bang Gang without Jay White, and they issued a challenge to the Death Riders on Collision. After that, we had an AEW World Trios Championship match between the Conglomeration and the Demand. The match was going smooth until the Lethal Twist came out to intervene. They distracted Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, while Blake Christian hit Orange Cassidy with one of the Trios Championships. And since the ref never saw this, Ricochet did one more move on Orange and then pinned him to win the Trios Championships. But after the match, they still decided to beat them up after, and that's when Brody King decided to come out and help the Conglomeration. However, they were still outnumbered, which brought the attention of Hangman Adam Page, and he made his second appearance of the night. The match was an 8 out of 10, and we have some new champions, so that's something to look forward to. Before the last promo of the match, the Death Riders were standing by outside. They answered the Bang Bang Gang's challenge on Collision, and still somewhat believe that Ospreay can win the championship at All In. Then Moxley talks about how the Continental Cup is just a mystery full of wrestlers that you don't even know who you're going to be fighting. And then he said to bring it, so I'm assuming he's going to have another match defending that championship soon. After that, we heard from Kenny Omega. He started to speak, but then immediately got interrupted by Will Ospreay. He told Ospreay that what happened at Redemption looked completely different through his eyes. He said he knew Ospreay was there, but what took so long for him to help was actually because he thought he was going to use the plastic bag on him. Ospreay denied it, but Omega didn't believe it. At one point, Kenny Omega said that he thought that Ospreay was his friend, and then Ospreay repeated, "I was your friend." Omega repetitively slapped Will Ospreay until Will Ospreay snapped and almost hit Kenny with the hidden blade. And Ospreay said that he's gonna win the championship knowing how he can, so he's not gonna cheap shot or any of that. And he says when he's gonna pull the trigger, you'll see it coming. And that promo was a 9 out of 10, and that was the end of the episode. So thank you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.